The House is set to vote on the release of federal files related to Jeffrey Epstein.
New tonight, the DOJ releasing hundreds of thousands of files.
KUET is actively looking through the files released by the DOJ.
In November, Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It followed months of calls from survivors and politicians for the millions of documents related to the DOJ's investigation of Jeffrey Epstein to be released. New Mexico actually started its own investigation into him.
Could you break down the timeline of the initial investigation for us?
We were not only conducting forensic investigations, but we were making contact.
Hector Balderas was New Mexico's Attorney General in 2019. His office was leading the charge.
We definitely verified that some of the concerns were valid, and we felt that there was enough evidence to build a criminal scope and move forward.
But the investigation didn't last long.
Just about in the big first phase of our investigation, we were contacted by the DOJ in New York. We had confirmed, and they had confirmed with us, that we were potentially interviewing the same victims, and they were concerned that if we had differing statements among victims, that the case could be compromised.
Balderas said the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York asked the state of New Mexico to halt its investigation.
They asked us to pause and stand down.
So Balderas' office handed over all the evidence they had gathered to the DOJ. Chief Deputy Attorney General at the time, Clara Moran, who is now a district court judge, wrote this email to the DOJ. The AG's office was wanting the feds to share evidence. It was over a month after Epstein's jail cell suicide. She said, quote, "Epstein's death should not be the end of this criminal inquiry." In another letter sent almost a year later, Moran asked the DOJ to seize all of Epstein's New Mexico properties, including Zorro Ranch. That never happened. Nor did the DOJ ever get back to the AG for his request to share evidence. Balderas says that hampered his ability to secure indictments for crimes committed in New Mexico.
It would have been much easier to take that property the way they take property from a tax evader. It's still strange and worthy of criticism that they should have probably seized that ranch in 2019.
Just flat out, was the property ever searched?
We were never informed by the federal authorities that they executed a search warrant.
Balderas adds, under him, state investigators never searched the property.
Well, this case is a horrific black eye in New Mexico. New Mexico has historically been a dumping ground. I think there's areas of risk that New Mexico has historically done a horrible job at addressing.
He thinks Epstein was aware of the state's prior shortcomings. He calls them black holes.
Now, Hector, do you think that Jeffrey Epstein knew about New Mexico's black holes?
Absolutely. He was very sophisticated.
Those black holes? New Mexico state laws at the time. We showed you earlier how Jeffrey Epstein wasn't forced to register as a sex offender here, even though he'd been convicted of sex crimes in Florida in 2008. At the time, New Mexico law didn't require someone who was already registered as a sex offender in another state to have to register here. That too has since been changed. The law for human trafficking, something Epstein was charged with in New York right before he died, wasn't passed in New Mexico until 2008.
At the time in the 90s, New Mexico didn't have a human trafficking law. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was aware of that and decided to move to New Mexico because of it?
It's hard to speculate, but citizens should know passing a human trafficking law in 2008 was late. This type of criminal activity had been going on for decades before the 2000s. And so it's hard to know what he was thinking.
The laws made it harder for sex crimes against minors to be brought to justice after the fact. Remember, we told you how some of the survivors were between the ages of 13 and 18. That gap was closed by our legislature just this year. But that law wasn't the only thing passed in the Roundhouse in 2026.
Better late than never.
Representative Andrea Reeb is a member of the Epstein Truth Commission. It's a legislative subcommittee created by our lawmakers just last month. Its main objective is to piece the puzzle together about what really happened at Zorro Ranch.
What kind of questions came into your mind when you first heard about Zorro Ranch?
The first thing that came to my mind is I'm sure probably something happened here in New Mexico in regards to some type of sex trafficking or underage, crimes.
Reeb says the committee has the power to subpoena people for questioning. Reeb, a Republican, says it's incredibly important for the commission to be bipartisan.
You know, if it's a Democrat, it's a Democrat. If it's a Republican, it's a Republican. And so we've got no pushback from our side of the aisle on this. They feel we should be a part of it.
As we told you earlier, Attorney General Raul Torres also announced he was reopening the state's investigation into Epstein's New Mexico activities. Torres declined to do an interview, citing the early stages of his investigation.
And I don't think he's going to limit the investigation to any preconceived notions.